Hello, thank you for tuning into my channel. It's Vlogmas in July 2022, day 18, and today we're going to make the last block for the Starlight Starbright quilt-along. So if you want to see how to make the starflower block, please stay tuned. That you're joining me for Vlogmas in July 2022. Today I'm going to work on the Starlight Starbright quilt. We have 8 blocks that we made so far, starting with top left corner all the way down to right here. And then today we're going to add the very last block. This is the Starflower block. Now I use the Block a Day book, I'm going to grab it, by Lucinda Ganderton. And it has 365 quilt blocks that we can, or that you could try. Have the book right here. And I've designated 9 blocks to do for this quilt. I will link in the description a playlist to another quilt that I made using blocks from this book. And it's called the Beginner Sampler Quilt-along. So you can go and check that out for another example of some blocks in this book. These blocks are all 9 patches, and they are mostly star blocks. The last block that we're doing today is actually a flower, but it's called the Star Flower, and so that's why I chose to add it into this sampler. So I have it here in the red and black and gray colorway. This was my practice blocks for the quilt, and for most of the downloads, this was the block that was used to make the download. It's going to be a little bit different today. I'll explain why in just a minute. I want to show you my drawings of the blocks, and then we'll get started making our blue colorway. Here is the red and black and gray block that I made. I love the way that this block came together. I can't wait to see it in a different colorway. In the Block a Day book, each of the blocks is shown with a picture. I'm going to come a little bit closer to the camera here. Yeah, so here is the Starflower block. Let me make sure you can see that. Yeah, in the book. But what I did is I drew this out and colored it so that I could have a pattern to go by. And just to kind of help me figure out the placement and cuts and things I need to make. And I've actually drawn out every single block in both colorways. So if you go back and check out the playlist for the Starlight Starbright quilt, you will see that I have a drawing for each one of these and a colorway, both colorways, so that I could see it before I tried it out. Now, if you look closely, I'm going to come a little closer. If you look closely at this pattern, the bottom one, that's my practice block, and this is very similar to what's on the wall. I'm actually going to change this block, and I'm going to swap out the light background for blue, and I'm going to use blue I'm going to use the background fabric where the blue is. So the inside of the petals of the flower are going to be blue. The background is going to be a white or an off-white. The reason that I chose to do that was because all of the other blocks in my quilt are, they're all similar to that. They all have light backgrounds and then darker stars. So I wanted to maintain that as I was working on the block, on this last block. Now, I talked a little bit about the download, and for each one of these blocks, there is a download on my blog. You can check that out under each video. In every description box, there is a link to the download for that particular block. And typically, that download features this red, black, and gray block. I just made this star and I forgot to take pictures as I was going along. So when you get this download for the star flower, it's actually going to feature the same block that you see me making here in the quilt or in the video. So I think that's really cool. and hopefully you can relate a little bit to what you see in the download more closely with the video. Okay, so let's first talk about what we need to get this block started. I'm just moving things out of the way here. So we'll talk about what we need to get started, and then we'll get to going. The main thing is that unlike all of these other blocks, we don't have any half square triangles to deal with this flower block. There is a technique called snowballing the corners that we're going to do on each of the petals, and that makes this block super duper simple. Okay, so I'm going to move the block over a little bit here so that I can show you what we need to make this block. Now, for the center star, for the center part of the star, I've chosen a dark blue here, and there's only one 5.5 inch square that you need for this block. Okay, and then for the petals, I've chosen, this is a lighter blue and it has some stars on it. Not sure how well you can see that from the camera, but I have 4 5.5 inch squares, and as you can see, they're going to go around the center square. So there are 4 of these. Okay, and now for my background squares, and for this block, all of the background is the same as you can see in this one. So I have 4 5.5 inch squares for the background. So I'm going to put that here. And then for the snowballs, for snowballing the corners, same fabric, I have 8 3-inch squares. And you could use 3.5 inch, and that might be a little bit better, but I chose to use 3-inch, and I've already cut them out. So this is what I'm going to use, 8 of the 3-inch squares. Okay, now what I'm going to do first is I want to show you this fabric up close. It's a tone on tone, but it has little bubbles on it. So that is so cute. So cute. And I think it's going to be a nice effect for the quilt block to have all those little tiny bubbles in the background. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take all of my 5.5 inch squares. I'm just going to set them aside for right now. I'm going to take my background squares, and I'm going to draw a line from corner to corner on each one of these snowball squares. So I'm going to do that off camera, and then I will come back and show you how to start snowballing the corners. I have all of my my background strips, or my background squares. They all have the pencil line. I just used a pencil because it is white. I'm looking around because I feel like I'm missing one somewhere. Let's see, I don't know where it went. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wait, 1, 2, 3. I don't know. I'll find it in just a minute. And so I've just drawn a pencil line using my ruler from corner to corner on this, on the background 3-inch squares. So now I'm going to show you how to start placing these squares, and they're actually 4 steps. So I'm going to bring the camera down so that you can see everything here. And it's upside down, so I'm going to turn it just a little bit so that you can see it. And I have everything out in the steps, in the stages that we need, so that you can see that process. So here we go. Flip it around. The first step is right here. I just placed the square on one of the corners here, and I have it so that the diagonal line is going this way. It's not going from the corner, it's going from the center out. So you can see that here. Okay, and then I took that square and I just stitched it down. In this case, I stitched on the line instead of on either side of the line like we've done for the half square triangles. I actually stitched on the line here. and I actually tried to stitch a little bit outside of the line, if that makes sense, to give me a little bit more room with this, with the triangle that's going to be left. All right, then I took the, let me show you here. This is the where I stitched it. I pressed it out with my, I pressed it with my finger first and then with the iron, and I wanted to measure and see if it goes all the way out, and it's close. It doesn't really have to be perfect. On the other block, it didn't have to be perfect, so I'm just gonna let it go for right now. It's not as good as I would like, but I think it's okay. And then I took that last part here, the last step, I took the seam allowance and I just cut the bulk out of that. So I have a triangle left that looks like this, and that's where that came from. Okay, so I'm going to, I've done all these, and now I'm just gonna do the other side. For this block, it's not stitched down yet, so I will stitch that down. But I'm gonna do the next stage on camera because it is the same 4 steps, except we're going to add it to this side. Okay, so you'll see I'm gonna start with sewing, then I'm going to, it's gonna be stitched, then I'm gonna fold it back and then cut off the excess. Okay, so we'll see that on camera, and I'm gonna speed it up, but you will get to see the entire process. In the Block a Day book, Lucinda Ganderton calls these blocks house blocks. Just in case you get the book and you're like, how do I make these? That's what she calls them, house blocks in the book. So now that I have these 4 blocks done, or these 4 units done, it's time to put the whole block together. It is super simple. So the top and the bottom petals point out, and then the 2 side petals point out. All right, we have our center square in the middle, of course, and then the background blocks go in each of the 4 corners. And the construction of this block is super simple. I will show it on camera so that you can see me putting this block together, but all we do is sew the units into rows and then sew the rows together, and we're all set. I'm gonna go ahead and get started stitching this, and you can see the entire process, and we'll check out the block when it's done. flower block. I am really happy with the way that this block turned out. I will be honest, I was a little bit worried about this dark blue versus the light blue, but I feel like the light blue kind of brings some of those lighter colors out of the dark blue. So it turned out to be a really great block, super simple, but it has a really striking look. I have now all of the pieces, all of the blocks for the Starlight Starbright quilt. This is the blue colorway, and so if you go back to the playlist, these are all the blocks I made in the video. You get a special bonus this time because I'll be making this block as the demo in the download as well. So look out for that. That should be up either today or tomorrow. Want to make sure I get the video up today so that you can have all of the blocks here. Hopefully the download will be up today. If not, tomorrow early. Okay? I am really happy with this, all of these blocks in both colorways. I have a favorite colorway. I bet you can guess if you follow my channel. But let me know in the comments if you prefer the red colorway or the blue colorway. They're both great. I love the way they both came out. So I hope that you've enjoyed the process of putting this together. In our next Starlight Starbright video, I'll be thinking about sashing. I don't know if I want to consider sashing one of the colorways or both of them. I haven't made a decision about that. Any ideas that you have, leave them in the comments. I definitely want to sash these because I feel like each block needs its own little shining area. So let me know what you think in the comments. If you have any questions about what you've seen in this video, please leave them in the comments below. Thumbs up this video, share it with your friends, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!